The moment I held my newborn daughter, something felt terribly wrong. The connection I'd dreamed about, that instant maternal bond everyone talks about, it wasn't there. Instead, a cold, creeping sensation of disconnect washed over me as I stared into those tiny eyes. My name is Linda, and this is the story of how my sister's jealousy nearly destroyed our family. She's perfect, Leonard whispered, squeezing my shoulder as we gazed at our daughter in the hospital nursery. I forced a smile, trying to shake off the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Yeah, perfect, I echoed hollowly, studying her features for the 100th time. Neither Leonard's warm brown eyes nor my distinctive green ones were reflected in her face. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Newborns change so much in their first few weeks. But that feeling wouldn't go away. You're just tired, Samantha assured me over coffee 3 days after we brought the baby home. Every new mom goes through this adjustment period. I clutched my mug tighter. It's more than that, Sam. I can't explain it, but something feels off. Different from what I expected. Different how? Like, I struggled to find the words. Like she's not mine. Samantha's eyes widened. Linda, you carried her for 9 months. Of course she's yours. But the doubt had taken root, growing stronger each day. I caught my sister Ariel watching me with an odd expression when she visited, something almost like satisfaction in her eyes when I struggled to comfort the crying baby. You're a natural, she said, her voice dripping with sweetness. Just like you are at everything else. There was an edge to her words that made me uncomfortable. Our relationship had always been complicated, marked by competition and resentment, but something about her behavior lately felt different, calculated. The breaking point came 2 weeks after the birth. I was sorting through a stack of mail when I found it, a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with typed text. How does it feel to not recognize your own child? Maybe because she isn't yours at all. My hands shook as I read the words over and over. The paper slipped from my fingers as memories flooded back. Ariel's strange behavior at the hospital, her insistence on being there for the birth despite our strained relationship, her disappearing for nearly an hour right after the delivery. Leonard, I called out, my voice cracking. He rushed in from the nursery, concern etched on his face. What's wrong? I thrust the note at him. Read this, and then I need you to help me get a DNA test. His face paled as he read. You don't think, I don't know what to think anymore, but I need to know the truth. That afternoon, we contacted a private laboratory. The wait for results was excruciating. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I looked at the baby, questions tormented me. Had Ariel somehow switched her with another infant? Was I losing my mind? The results are ready, the lab technician said 3 days later. Her voice was gentle, sympathetic. Would you like to come in to discuss them? My heart stopped. Just tell me, please. A pause. The DNA analysis shows no biological relationship between you and the infant. The phone slipped from my numb fingers. Leonard caught it, his face ashen as he listened to the technician's voice. I stumbled to the nursery, staring at the sleeping baby, not my baby, as tears blurred my vision. Another envelope arrived that evening. This one contained a hospital security photo showing Ariel in scrubs, carrying a bundle through a service corridor. The timestamp matched my delivery time exactly. I'm going to kill her, I whispered, rage building in my chest. She stole my baby. My actual baby is out there somewhere, and Leonard wrapped his arms around me. We'll find her. We'll make this right. I pulled away, wiping my eyes. Fury replaced despair as I stared at the photo. Oh, we'll do more than that. My dear sister wants to play games? Fine, but she has no idea what she's started. I reached for my phone, hands steady now. It was time to make some calls, gather some allies. Ariel thought she knew everything about me, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I always win in the end. And this time, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for my real daughter, wherever she was. The game was on. Tell me everything you remember about Ariel's behavior at the hospital, Samantha said, pacing my living room. Every detail matters now. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to revisit that day. She insisted on being there, even though we barely speak, said it was too important to miss. My laugh was bitter. Now I know why. Leonard sat beside me, his engineer's mind already mapping out possibilities. She must have had help. Hospital security is tight these days. The head of maternity, Vince? I suggested. Ariel seemed to know him. They were chatting like old friends when I was admitted. Samantha stopped pacing. Wait, Vince Lane? Isn't he the one who was in the news last year for some financial scandal that got buried? That's him. I pulled out my phone, starting to search his name. But why? Leonard asked. Why would Ariel do this? It's beyond cruel. It's criminal. I set my phone down, memories flooding back. Remember last Christmas at Mom's house? Ariel had too much wine and started bringing up old stuff. How I always got the praise, the attention, the opportunities. That's ridiculous, Samantha interjected. Your parents treated you both equally, not in Ariel's mind. I stood up, walking to the window. She told me something that night, after everyone else went to bed. She said, "One day I'll take away the thing you love most. Then you'll know how it feels." And you didn't think to mention this before? Leonard's voice rose slightly. I thought she was just drunk and bitter. I never imagined. My voice cracked. I never thought she'd steal our baby. The doorbell rang, making us all jump. I opened it to find my mother, Clara, looking worried. I came as soon as I could, she said, hugging me. Your message about needing to talk about Ariel scared me. What's happening? I led her to the living room, where Samantha and Leonard waited. As I explained everything, the DNA test, the photos, my suspicions, Mom's face grew paler. There's something you need to know, she said quietly when I finished. Something that happened when Ariel was 16. We all leaned forward as she continued. She had a breakdown after your father praised your college acceptance. She was convinced we loved you more, that everything good in life went to you. We found, Mom's voice wavered, we found a journal. She'd written detailed plans about hurting you, taking away your happiness. We got her help, and she seemed better, but she never really got over it, I finished. She just got better at hiding it. I should have told you, Mom whispered. I thought I was protecting both of you, but we need to be strategic about this, Samantha interrupted. If we confront Ariel directly, she might panic. We don't know where your real baby is. Leonard nodded. We need proof first, concrete evidence that links her to the switch. I know someone, Samantha said. A geneticist named Julian. He can fast-track another DNA test, more comprehensive this time, and he has contacts at the hospital board. I grabbed my keys. Let's go see him now. Mom, can you stay with the baby? I can't. I can't look at her right now, knowing. Of course, dear. Mom's eyes were full of tears. We'll make this right. As we drove to Julian's lab, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Enjoying motherhood, sis. Some things aren't as perfect as they seem, are they? It's her. I showed Leonard the message. She's taunting me. Save everything, he said grimly. We'll need it later. At the lab, Julian listened intently to our story. I can help, he said finally. But you should know, if what you're saying is true, this goes beyond just your sister. Hospital baby switches don't happen by accident anymore. There are protocols, safeguards. Meaning? meaning someone high up had to be involved. Someone with access to override security systems, change records. He looked at me seriously. Are you sure you want to pull this thread? You might not like what you find. I thought of my real daughter, somewhere out there, being raised by strangers, of Ariel's smug satisfaction, of all the years of rivalry and resentment that led to this moment. I'm sure, I said firmly. Whatever it takes, whoever's involved, I want them all exposed, and I want my baby back. Julian nodded, reaching for his computer. Then let's get started. But be careful. People who are capable of stealing babies are capable of much worse. I squeezed Leonard's hand, drawing strength from his presence. They haven't seen what I'm capable of yet. I arranged the family meeting carefully, making sure Ariel wouldn't know about it. The living room felt crowded with everyone except her gathered there. Mom, Dad, our older cousins Sarah and Mike, even our Aunt Patricia. Thank you all for coming, I started, my voice steadier than I felt. What I'm about to tell you will be hard to hear. Leonard stood beside me, silent support, as I laid out the evidence. The DNA test results, the security photos, the threatening messages. The room grew quieter with each revelation. That's impossible, Aunt Patricia burst out. Ariel would never. There's more, Mom interrupted, her hands shaking as she pulled out an old notebook. I should have shown this years ago. Maybe if I had. She opened it to a marked page and began reading. April 15, 2004. Linda got into Harvard today. Everyone's so proud of perfect Linda. One day I'll make her feel what it's like to lose everything, to have something precious taken away. Sarah gasped. She wrote that when she was 16? There are dozens of entries like this, Mom continued, her voice breaking. We got her therapy, but clearly it wasn't enough. Wait, Mike leaned forward. Last month at the hospital, I saw Ariel talking to some administrator. They seemed friendly, too friendly. Vince Lane, I confirmed. We're investigating him, too. This is crazy, Dad exploded, standing up. My daughter wouldn't steal a baby. There has to be another explanation. Dad, I said softly, pulling out my phone. Listen to this. I played the voicemail from 2 days ago. Hey, sis, Ariel's voice slightly slurred. Remember when we were kids and you always got everything you wanted? Well, how does it feel now to have something precious just slip away? The room fell silent. Oh, God. Dad collapsed back into his chair. What do we do? We need to be careful, Leonard warned. If we confront her directly, she might run, I finished. With information about where my real baby is. I have an idea, Sarah spoke up. The annual family reunion is next weekend. Ariel won't expect anything there, with so many people around. Perfect, I nodded. We can. A knock at the door made everyone freeze. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of familiar red hair. It's her, I whispered. Nobody say anything. I opened the door to find Ariel standing there, looking perfectly composed. Family meeting without me? She asked, her smile not reaching her eyes. Just discussing the reunion, I lied smoothly. Come in. She walked into the living room, taking in everyone's tense faces. Why so serious? Did somebody die? Actually, I said, watching her carefully, we were just talking about when we were kids. Remember that time you took my favorite doll and buried it in the backyard? Ariel's smile flickered. Ancient history. Is it? Mom's voice was quiet. Because it seems like some patterns never change. What's that supposed to mean? Ariel's hand tightened on her purse. Nothing, I said quickly. Just reminiscing. Hey, you never told me. How long have you known Vince Lane? A flash of panic crossed her face before she controlled it. Who? The hospital administrator. Mike saw you talking to him. Oh, him. Just Professional acquaintance. She checked her phone. I should go. I have a meeting. On Sunday? Leonard asked mildly. Ariel was already heading for the door. Some of us have to work weekends. Unlike perfect Linda with her perfect life. After she left, everyone exhaled. Did you see her face when you mentioned Vince? Sarah asked. She's definitely hiding something, Mike agreed. I turned to Julian, who had been quietly observing from the corner. What do you think? Her body language changed completely at the mention of Vince, he noted. Classic guilt response. And that comment about your perfect life. There's a lot of buried rage there. We need to move fast, I decided. The reunion's in 6 days. That's our chance to expose everything. I'll help, Sarah offered. I can get access to the hospital records through my IT job. Be careful, Julian warned. If Vince is involved, he'll be watching for any suspicious activity. I looked around at my family, seeing determination replace shock on their faces. Even Dad, who'd been in denial, now looked resolved. 1 week, I said. In 1 week, we end this, and I get my baby back. As everyone left, Mom lingered behind. Linda, she said softly, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this coming. I hugged her tightly. We all should have. But now we make it right. The game was changing. Ariel thought she had all the power, but she'd forgotten something important. Family loyalty cuts both ways, and she just lost hers completely. Julian's lab was eerily quiet as we waited for the second DNA test results. Sarah had managed to hack into the hospital system, and the information displayed on his computer screen made my blood run cold. Look at this. Julian pointed to a series of entries. Multiple records were altered the day of your delivery. Not just yours. 3 other births that day had documentation changes. 3 others? Leonard leaned closer. Are you saying? This wasn't a one-time thing, Julian confirmed. They've been switching babies systematically. My hands clenched into fists. But why? What's the motive? Sarah clicked through more files. Money transfers, large ones, all to offshore accounts, all linked to Vince's department. He's selling babies, I whispered, horror dawning, and Ariel helped him with mine. The printer whirred to life, spitting out the new DNA results. Julian grabbed them, scanning quickly. It's confirmed, he said. The baby you have matches another mother from that day, Amanda Torres, which means my baby is with her. I grabbed my phone, but Leonard caught my wrist. Wait, we need to be smart about this. If we contact her directly, Vince might find out. A knock at the lab door made us all jump. Julian checked the security camera and cursed. It's Vince. Quick, into my office. We hurried into the adjacent room as Julian went to answer the door. Through the thin wall, we could hear their conversation. Burning the midnight oil? Vince's voice was smooth, professional. Just catching up on some work, Julian replied casually. Interesting, because I noticed some unusual access to hospital records today. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? My heart pounded as Julian laughed. Me? I'm just a geneticist. Hospital administration is way above my pay grade. Right. Vince's tone turned cold. Just remember, curiosity can be dangerous, especially when it involves certain sensitive matters. After Vince left, we emerged from the office. Julian's face was pale. He knows something's up, he said. We need to move faster. I have an idea, Sarah said, typing rapidly. Amanda Torres. She's a teacher at Lincoln Elementary. If we can get to her before they do. No, I interrupted. That's exactly what they'll expect. We need to be smarter. I turned to Julian. Can you get me access to Vince's office? He hesitated. Maybe. I have clearance for the medical wing, but perfect. Here's what we're going to do. Over the next hour, we planned meticulously. Sarah would create a diversion in the hospital's computer system. While Vince was dealing with that, Julian would get me into his office to search for concrete evidence. What about Ariel? Leonard asked. I'm handling her separately, I said grimly. Mom's invited her for dinner tomorrow. She won't suspect anything because Mom always tries to fix things between us. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ariel. Missing something, sis? Maybe you're not such a perfect mother after all. She's getting cocky. I showed them the message. Good, let her think she's winning. The next day, I met Amanda Torres. Not directly, I couldn't risk that. But I watched from my car as she left the school with a baby. My baby. My heart nearly stopped when I saw her tiny face. That's her, I whispered to Leonard. I know it is. He squeezed my hand. Soon, back at Julian's lab that evening, the final pieces fell into place. Sarah had found encrypted emails between Vince and several wealthy couples, arranging special adoptions for huge sums. Tomorrow, I decided, during Mom's dinner. Vince will be at the hospital late. He always is on Thursdays. We'll get what we need from his office, then confront Ariel with everything at once. What if she runs? Sarah worried. She won't, I said confidently. She wants to see me suffer. Running would ruin that for her. Julian handed me a USB drive. Everything's on here. The DNA tests, the altered records, the money trails. Be careful. I tucked it into my pocket just as my phone rang. Mom. Linda. Her voice was shaking. Ariel just called. She knows we know. Someone at the hospital tipped her off. My blood ran cold. What did she say? She's threatening to disappear with information about your baby. She says if we don't back off, we'll never find her. I met Leonard's eyes, saw my own determination reflected there. Tell her I'm backing off, I said calmly. Tell her she wins. And Mom, make sure she comes to dinner tomorrow, no matter what. I hung up, my hand steady. Change of plans. We moved tonight. Because if there's one thing I'd learned from all this, it's that sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served when they least expect it. Mom's dining room looked perfectly normal. Her best china, fresh flowers, the family photos lining the walls. But nothing about this dinner would be normal. Everything's ready, Samantha whispered, adjusting the hidden camera in the centerpiece. Sarah's in position at the hospital, and Julian's got eyes on Vince. The doorbell rang. Showtime. Linda. Ariel's hug was perfectly theatrical. I'm so glad you came around. All this silly suspicion was getting out of hand. I hugged her back, feeling the USB drive press against my ribs where it was hidden. You're right. I've been stressed with the new baby. Speaking of which, where's Vince? I invited him too. Ariel's smile flickered. Vince? Why would you? Oh, I ran into him at the hospital yesterday. I lied smoothly. He mentioned you two were friends. I thought it would be nice to have him join us. Before she could respond, the doorbell rang again. Mom opened it to reveal Vince, looking polished in his suit. I hope I'm not late, he said, shooting a quick glance at Ariel. Perfect timing, I smiled. We were just about to start. Throughout the appetizers, I watched them both. The subtle glances, the tension in their shoulders. My phone buzzed silently, a text from Sarah. In his office, found the files. You won't believe this. So, Vince, Leonard said casually, how long have you been running the maternity ward? 8 years, he replied, sipping his wine. It's rewarding work. Very rewarding, I imagine, I added. Financially speaking. His fork paused halfway to his mouth. Excuse me? Linda, Ariel warned, don't start. Start what? I pulled out my phone displaying a bank statement, discussing the offshore accounts, or maybe the special adoption program you've been running. Vince's face hardened. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? I pressed play on my phone. Vince's voice filled the room. The Torres swap is complete. Payment received. The Willis baby has been placed as requested. Ariel knocked over her wine glass, red liquid spreading across the white tablecloth. That's not. You recorded? Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? I stood up slowly. Did you really think you could steal my baby and get away with it? You don't understand. Ariel's voice cracked. You've always had everything. The perfect grades, the perfect job, the perfect marriage. I just wanted to hurt me, I finished. By selling my baby to your little black market adoption ring? Vince stood abruptly. This conversation is over. Actually, Leonard blocked the doorway. It's not. The police are already at the hospital. Sarah found everything, the records, the payments, all of it. You're bluffing, Vince snarled. My phone buzzed again. A video call from Sarah. I answered on speaker. Linda, the police just arrested 3 of Vince's staff. They're confessing everything. Vince lunged for the door, but Leonard was faster. In the chaos, Ariel tried to slip away through the kitchen. Mom, I called out. Mom appeared in the kitchen doorway, blocking Ariel's escape. Sit down. Mom's voice was steel. Both of you. They sat. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You're going to tell me exactly where my baby is. You're going to help reverse every single illegal adoption you've arranged. And you're going to do it now. Or what? Ariel spat. I smiled. Or the evidence doesn't go just to the police. It goes to every news outlet in the country. Your names, faces, and crimes splashed across every screen in America. How's that for perfect? Vince broke first. The records are in my safe. Code is 4891. Already got them. Sarah's voice came through the phone. Police are heading to each family now. Ariel started crying. I just wanted you to hurt like I hurt, to feel what it's like to lose something precious. Well, congratulations, I said coldly. You succeeded, but you forgot something important about me, sis. I don't just get hurt, I get even. Red and blue lights flashed outside the window. Sirens wailed. That's our cue, Leonard said, opening the door for the officers. As they led Vince and Ariel away in handcuffs, Mom touched my arm. Amanda Torres is on her way with your real daughter. The police explained everything to her. I nodded, watching my sisters retreating back. You know what the saddest part is? If she'd just talked to me, dealt with her issues, none of this had to happen. Some people prefer revenge to healing, Samantha said quietly. Yeah, I agreed, thinking of the baby I'd soon meet, my real daughter, finally coming home. But revenge has a way of backfiring, and as I waited for my baby, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting others at all. It's about making things right. The police station conference room felt too small for the weight of this moment. Amanda Torres sat across from me, tears streaming down her face as she held my biological daughter, her dark hair and green eyes a mirror of my own. I had no idea, she whispered. All this time, neither did I replied softly, watching as Leonard cradled the baby she'd been raising, her actual daughter. But now we can make it right. The door opened, and Detective Morris entered with a thick file. We've got full confessions from both Vince and Ariel. You'll want to hear this. He pressed play on a recording device. Ariel's voice filled the room. It started 2 years ago. Vince approached me at a hospital fundraiser, said he knew about my issues with Linda, said he could help me hurt her in a way she'd never recover from. The baby switching scheme was already running, wealthy couples paying to get the exact baby they wanted. All I had to do was help with Linda's case. I closed my eyes, the betrayal still raw. How many families? Amanda asked, her voice shaking. 17 over the past 3 years. Detective Morris replied. We're contacting each one. It's going to be a mess, but we'll sort it out. A soft knock at the door revealed Julian. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you need to see. He opened his laptop, showing us a news website. The headline made my heart stop. Hospital baby trafficking ring exposed. Prominent administrator and accomplice sister arrested. It's everywhere, Julian said. Every major network is picking it up. Amanda stood suddenly. I need some air. I followed her into the hallway, where she turned to face me. What happens now? With the babies? We do what's best for them, I said firmly. A gradual transition. They're innocent in all this. She nodded, tears falling. I love her, you know, your daughter. I've been raising her for 3 months. And I love yours, I admitted. We'll figure this out together. The kids deserve that much. Back in the conference room, Leonard was speaking with our lawyer. The hospital board is in chaos. They're offering a settlement to all affected families. I don't want their money, I said. I want change, real change, so this never happens again. Julian looked up from his laptop. Actually, I have an idea about that. He showed us a draft proposal, a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving hospital security and supporting families affected by medical fraud. We could help people, he explained. Use what happened here to prevent it elsewhere. Before I could respond, an officer appeared. Ms. Willis, your sister's asking to see you. I found Ariel in an interview room, still in handcuffs, her makeup streaked with tears. Come to gloat? She asked bitterly. No, I came to understand why. She laughed harshly. Why? Because you had everything. The grades, the career, mom and dad's approval. Even when you got pregnant, it was perfect timing, perfect marriage, perfect life. Perfect? I leaned forward. You want to know what perfect looks like? Perfect is spending 3 months raising someone else's baby because my own sister was too consumed with jealousy to see what she was destroying. Perfect is having to tell our parents that their youngest daughter is going to prison. I tried to fix it, she whispered. Last week, I told Vince we should switch them back, but he said it was too late, that we'd get caught. It was too late the moment you decided to do this. She looked up, desperate. I'll help make it right. I'll testify against Vince, tell them everything about the other families. You'll do that anyway. I stood up. But first, I want you to meet someone. I motioned to the officer who brought in Amanda, holding my daughter. This is who you hurt, I said quietly. Not just me, not just yourself. These innocent babies, their families. Look at them, Ariel. Really look. She broke down completely then, sobbing as she stared at the baby she'd tried to use as a weapon. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I replied. But helping us fix it? That's a start. As we left her there, Amanda touched my arm. You're stronger than I would be. I don't know if I could face my sister after something like this. I watched through the window as Ariel continued crying. Strength isn't about forgiveness or revenge. It's about choosing what's right, even when it hurts. My phone buzzed. Julian had sent the nonprofit proposal to my email. Looking at it now, I realized something important. Sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the greatest purpose. Let's do it, I told him. Let's turn this nightmare into something good. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy, it's about building something better from the ashes of what they tried to destroy. The courthouse buzzed with tension as Ariel took the stand. 6 months had passed since the truth came out, and today was the final hearing. Cameras flashed outside, reporters hungry for the story of the sister who sold babies. Please state your involvement in the hospital adoption scheme, the prosecutor requested. Ariel's voice shook. I helped Vince Lane coordinate 17 illegal baby switches over 2 years, including, including my sister's baby. And what was your motivation? She glanced at me in the gallery. I wanted to hurt my sister. I was jealous of her life, her success. Vince offered me a way to do that, plus a share of the money. How much money per baby? $200,000 per switch. Half went to Vince, the rest split between me and other hospital staff involved. The prosecutor held up a document. This is a bank statement showing transfers to an offshore account in your name. Total amount $1.7 million. What happened to that money? I've surrendered it all, Ariel whispered. It's being used to fund my sister's nonprofit organization for preventing medical fraud. I felt Leonard squeeze my hand as the questioning continued. Beside us, Amanda sat with my real daughter, Emma, while I held her daughter, Sophia. We'd decided to raise them as cousins, sharing custody in a way that kept both babies connected to the mothers who'd loved them from the start. The defendant has agreed to testify against all parties involved, the prosecutor announced. In exchange for her cooperation, we're recommending a reduced sentence of 5 years. 5 years. The words hung in the air as Ariel was led away. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed us. Linda, how do you feel about your sister's testimony? What about the other families affected? I stepped up to the microphones, Julian and Sarah flanking me. Today isn't about revenge or punishment. It's about justice and prevention. Our organization, Medical Trust Alliance, is already working with hospitals nationwide to implement new security measures. And the babies? Someone called out. Amanda stepped forward. We're making it work. These children deserve to know both mothers who love them. We're turning a tragedy into a family. Back at home that evening, we hosted a different kind of meeting. Representatives from 12 of the affected families sat in our living room, sharing stories and support. The DNA results came back yesterday, one mother said. We found our biological daughter in Texas. We're here to help, I assured her. The transition program we've developed. A knock at the door interrupted me. Mom stood there, looking tired but determined. I just came from visiting Ariel, she said, joining us. She asked me to give you this. She handed me a letter. With trembling hands, I opened it. Linda, I watched your press conference today. You've taken something horrible that I did and turned it into something good. That's always been the difference between us. You build while I tried to destroy. I know I can never undo what I did, but I want to help. I've given Julian access to all my contacts in the black market adoption world. Use it to find more families, help more children. The jealousy that consumed me, I see it now for what it was. A poison I chose to drink, hoping it would hurt you. Instead, it destroyed me. Take care of Emma. Let her grow up knowing love, not hatred. And maybe someday, when I've served my time and proven I've changed, you'll let me meet my niece properly. I'm sorry for everything. Ariel. She's really helping, Julian confirmed. Thanks to her information, we've identified 30 more potential cases across 3 states. Sarah pulled up a presentation on her laptop. And look at this. 10 hospitals have already adopted our new security protocols. It's working, Linda. I looked around the room, at the families healing together, at Emma sleeping peacefully in her bassinet, at the support network we'd built from the ashes of betrayal. You know what's ironic? I said to Leonard. Ariel wanted to destroy my perfect life. Instead, she helped create something even more meaningful. Speaking of meaningful, Samantha called from the kitchen. Wait until you see tomorrow's headlines. She showed us her phone. Medical Trust Alliance wins federal grant. Nationwide hospital security reform underway. The room erupted in cheers, but I stepped away for a moment, looking at Emma, my daughter, the one Ariel tried to take away. Your aunt made a terrible mistake, I whispered to her. But sometimes the worst actions can lead to the best changes. And you, little one, you're gonna grow up in a world that's safer because of what we learned from this. Because sometimes true victory isn't about winning or losing. It's about transforming pain into purpose and hatred into hope. The prison visiting room was cold and sterile, but Emma's laughter warmed it as she played with her blocks on the table. Across from us, Ariel watched her niece with a mixture of joy and regret. She has your eyes, Ariel said softly. I see that now. That's what Mom always says. I adjusted Emma's sweater. The Medical Trust Alliance is implementing the last of the security protocols next week. Every hospital in the network will have them. I saw it on the news. Ariel's hands fidgeted with her prison uniform. They interviewed that family from Oregon, the ones we helped reunite last month. Julian's team is amazing. We've identified 98% of the switched babies now. Only 3 cases left to solve. Emma offered Ariel a block, and my sister's hands trembled as she accepted it. I keep thinking about what would have happened if I'd succeeded, she whispered. If you hadn't figured it out. All those families. But I did figure it out, and now we're fixing it. The door opened, and Amanda entered with Sophia. Our monthly joint visits had become a tradition, a way to keep both girls connected to their complex family story. Look who's here to see Aunt Ariel, Amanda said, setting Sophia down next to Emma. The girls immediately started sharing blocks, oblivious to the weight of history between the adults around them. They're so natural together, Ariel observed, like real cousins. They are real cousins, I corrected. Family isn't just about blood. Amanda nodded. Speaking of family, did you tell her about the support group? What support group? Ariel asked. I pulled out a folder. We're starting a program for families affected by medical fraud. Not just baby switches, all kinds of hospital-related deception. People need a place to heal. That's good. Ariel's voice cracked. You're helping people move forward instead of getting stuck in the past. Unlike me. You're not stuck, I said firmly. You're serving your time, helping us find other families, making amends. That's moving forward, too. Emma chose that moment to climb into Ariel's lap, offering her a crayon drawing. My sister stared at it, tears falling. What is it? Amanda asked gently. It's us, Emma announced proudly. Mommy and me and Aunt Ariel and Sophia and other mommy. The simple acceptance in a child's drawing, all of us together, no judgment, no hatred, broke something open in the room. I never thought, Ariel wiped her eyes, when I was planning my revenge about how much love there could be, how much room there is for everyone if you just let go of the anger. That's what we're teaching them. Amanda gestured to the girls. That love multiplies. It doesn't divide. A guard approached, signaling the end of visiting hours. As we gathered the girls and their toys, Ariel caught my hand. Linda, thank you, not for forgiving me. I know we're not there yet, but for letting me be part of this, for showing me a better way. I squeezed her hand. That's what sisters do, the real kind, not the perfect kind. Outside, Leonard waited with Julian and Sarah. They had news about the nonprofit, another grant, more hospitals joining the network, expanded programs for affected families. Ready to announce the new initiatives? Julian asked, tablet in hand. I watched Emma and Sophia climbing into their car seats, giggling together. Watched Amanda checking their seatbelts with the same care I would use. Thought about Ariel, slowly rebuilding herself in prison, helping us piece together other broken families. You know what? I said. I think I finally understand something about revenge. What's that? Sarah asked. The best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. Building something so good that the bad thing becomes just a chapter in a much bigger story. Leonard wrapped an arm around me. Speaking of stories, the girls will have quite one to tell someday. Yes, I agreed, watching our unusual, beautiful family prepare to head home. But it won't be a story about betrayal or jealousy or revenge. It'll be a story about how love finds a way, how family is something you choose every day. Emma waved at me from the car window. Her green eyes, my eyes, sparkling with innocent joy. Behind her, Sophia made silly faces. Looking so much like Amanda, it made my heart ache with gratitude. This was my revenge, not destruction, but creation, not hatred, but healing, not perfection, but something far more valuable, reality, in all its messy, magnificent glory. And as we drove away from the prison, I knew that sometimes the happiest endings don't come from getting what you thought you wanted, but from discovering what you really needed all along.